The success rate of startups globally, with only 10% surviving beyond the first 5 years of operation.
I have an idea, I know what I want, but until you find that particular thing, you're going to hit some bumps along the way, and it's going to be a little bit challenging, and you might make mistakes, as I did.
No one's ever offered me a job. I wonder why, because I'm very experienced at so many different things.
And if shit hits the fan, you want to be protected.
Welcome to the She Word, Women in Business, conversations that women rarely have but really should. I'm your host, Helen Chorley, investment banker turned angel investor, and this is the all-new Women in Business series where we will be shining a spotlight on those conversations in the workplace. So whether you are an employee, a boss, an entrepreneur, you work from home, there will be something in this series for you, I guarantee it. And today, we're talking about entrepreneurship. But before we get into this, if you are an existing She Word fan, thank you. Thank you for following and sharing. We so appreciate it. If you are new here, we would ask you to subscribe across all our channels. We're on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Give us a follow so you won't miss an episode. And honestly, you won't want to miss these conversations. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, a special thank you to you. You are seeing this before anybody else. And by being a subscriber, you are making a difference in the lives of women who need support and therapy through our partners with the Richmond Foundation. We have a juicy episode for you today. We've had so many requests for this topic, entrepreneurship, how to start your own business, how to get funding, how to deal with angel investors. So that's what we're diving in today. And we have 3 delightful guests for you who know about this topic firsthand. In fact, our very first guest calls herself a serial entrepreneur. She has turned her passions into small businesses again and again. She is a swimwear and bodywear designer and the founder of Female Community here in Malta, where her passion lies in bringing women together in fantastic in-person events. She is also the founder of Female Entrepreneurs Malta VO, a platform providing educational training in startups and scaling business ideas. Welcome, Dana Carmont.
Thank you, Helen.
I am so excited to have you here because the more I speak to you, the more I learn that you did this and you did this and you did this. You are just this bubbling cauldron of ideas. So thank you for being here. We can't wait to hear more from you.
Thank you for having me here. It's going to be fun.
It really is. Our next guest is a bra specialist. She's the founder and owner of Slinky & Co., who focus on niche areas like feminine maternity and nursing bras and those with the fuller bust. This journey started off 3.5 years ago for her, soon after she'd given birth to her son. She is passionate about giving a tailored service and educating her clients on how to wear a bra properly and what to look for when trying on, wearing or purchasing a bra. Very useful indeed. Samira, welcome.
Thank you, Helen, for having me. It's such a pleasure.
It's lovely to have you here because you're slightly earlier on in your journey. We've got someone very experienced, someone earlier on, so that perspective is going to be so useful for the viewers and the listeners. And our third guest is Head of Business Advisory at BL Group, collaborating closely with the C-suite to achieve the group's objectives. And she actively scouts for people like these guests for investment opportunities and engages in deal negotiations. So she's going to have a wealth of knowledge to share. Additionally, she identifies funding schemes for startups, so a whole different side of the puzzle. Welcome, Jessica Camilleri.
Thanks, Helen. Thanks for the invite.
So let's dive into the stats and put some context around this. Over 100 million new startups emerge annually across the globe, with more than 60% of them operating from home. In Malta, there are about 4,500 new businesses registered here each year on average. However, the success rate of startups globally remains relatively low, with only 10% surviving beyond the first 5 years of operation. 10% fail within the first year, and failure is most common for startups during years 2 to 5, with 70% falling into this category. But it's not all doom and gloom. A noteworthy trend is the rise of female entrepreneurship, with women-owned businesses experiencing a growth rate that is 5 times faster than the overall average. Plus, startups that have at least one female founder perform 63% better than those with all male founders, according to a report by First Round Capital. A crucial factor for startups to succeed is funding, as Jess will know. And the numbers are big. In 2020, venture capital firms invested over 130 billion in new startups globally. But female founders still only attract less than 3% of that pot, which is all the more surprising because female-founded startups are more likely to have a higher return on investment, something very close to my heart, generating 78 cents for every dollar invested, compared to 31 cents for male-founded startups, according to a study by Boston Consulting Group. So, Jess, let's dive in. As a starting point, let's define what exactly is a startup.
So there are different definitions, right? Everyone has their own tweak about it. But for me, a startup is a new business in less than 5 years, but has a solid business model which can grow at a substantial pace. So it's not, the normal hair salon. It's a business model that will grow at a substantial pace. I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's looking for something that will scale up.
Exactly.
And that's one of the factors that you look for when you're assessing people to invest with.
So at a startup level, the founding team is what you go for. If it's a very early stage, you're not investing in the product or service, which is still being developed. The product validation is still ongoing, but you're seeing the passion and the commitment and the knowledge in that founding team.
Absolutely. So it's the people as much as the product or the service, right?
Sometimes if it's very early, it's more.
Yeah, more about the people.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I look for when I'm assessing deals myself. And Donna, you are an old hand at that. Old in the mature sense of the word. You've done this so many times.
I have.
Started over and over. Tell us about your story.
Well, I have been an entrepreneur since the age of 17. Wow. And I haven't worked for anyone since the age of 19.
Well.
So that's going to show my age. But having said that, I have turned most of my businesses they've been passions and they've just grown into businesses, small businesses. My first business that I ever started was my swimwear label. So I've had the swimwear label now, or it's actually a stage bikini label. So I used to compete in bodybuilding competitions and I used to make swimwear, the actual bikinis for myself. And it was a real niche market. Nobody had them at the time. This is going back 35 years ago now. And I was one of the first people to do these in Australia. So I had a very, very niche market that grew into a very thriving business for like 15 years. And from that business, it grew into other things. So I was doing hair and makeup for competitors. I was doing the shoes for competitors because these were all little niche things that were needed to get up on stage. And then I would do workshops for women to work how to walk on stage. So there was always something that grew from a business to like an idea from the next one to the next one. And that's why I call myself a serial entrepreneur, because I've had many businesses from an idea that just sort of kicked off, all I did for myself, and then people would ask to buy them from me. So it just would motor on. And as you said, Helen, I have had very many businesses, and every single one of them, you could sort of go through and go, this one was a great one, this one was a terrible one, so I'm closing it down tomorrow. This one was amazing, I'm going to sell it off. So, all these little things that sort of being creative from something I love doing, just put a little sparkle in my step every day to say that I actually haven't worked a day in my life. So that's why I love being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you're in control of your own agenda. Like you say, you have not worked for anybody else since you were 19.
19, yeah.
I think sometimes you get to that point, certainly as an entrepreneur, where you are unemployable.
Yes.
where you just can't.
And that is so true because you know what? No one's ever offered me a job. And I often wonder why, because I'm very experienced at so many different things.
Yeah.
And I was only saying that recently to my husband. I was like, no one's ever offered me a job in like the years I've been an entrepreneur. And then I thought maybe I'm just too experienced. You know, I just, you know what I mean? Like exactly what you said. So it's
But I also
strange.
think they think like, where would you fit it in? Because you've got 16,000 projects on the go as well at the moment. And it's worth saying, actually, you're half Maltese as well.
I am, yes. I actually moved to Malta 7 years ago. My mum retired here 16 years ago. She left Malta when she was 7 years old on one of the boats that went into Australia. So she did that 3-month travel on the big boat. She resided there with her family for over 60 years and then she came back here 16 years ago. So
Brilliant.
hence me being here.
Lovely. We're so happy you are here.
Thank
Especially
you.
with your beautiful community, which is how I met you.
Yes.
Really is. And actually, it's how I met you, Sam, as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was.
Yes, at last year's the Women's Day brunch.
That's correct, a year
it
ago.
is. A year ago,
Yeah.
indeed it is. So, Sam, you've had the online business for a number of years, 3.5 years, as you said when you had your son.
Exactly.
And you've just kind of taken that next step into having a physical shop in Nashar. I've been. It's very glamorous and very classy. It's
Yes.
so you. It's so on brand. It's absolutely lovely. But I really want to hear more about your story and how you got to that decision that you were ready to take that next step and get the physical shop.
Well, it all started quite a while ago. I've always felt that fire burning in me, that I wanted to do something on my own, you know, but it's not always the right opportune moment to do so. So you have to find, and I always wanted to do something in particular. I didn't want to open any other business that was already on the market. I am in retail, true, but my area, I target a particular product, a particular area of women. And obviously, until you find that gap in the market, it will take you a while. And I only stumbled upon it because I was pregnant with my son in 2020, and then COVID hit, and I was deemed vulnerable and at home. So all I had to do was bake and think. And obviously, because I needed myself maternity clothing and maternity bras to breastfeed my son and so on, I came across this big gap in the market about maternity bras. I tried the bras myself and I found them really comfortable. So I said, let's give it a go. I mean, I got quite a bit of support from my husband as well. So if he said yes, I'm like, okay, this is going to work, I think.
What if you could start your journey over? Start here and start again there. That's how life works, in a circular way. We understand the importance of circles, and that's why you are at the heart of ours. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
We are curators of culinary excellence. We stock all your favorite eateries with the finest ingredients and complement the best dishes with wines and spirits of distinction. We provide all the brands you love that you never knew you loved. Because the little things in life are the big things. Abraham's, for that something special.
And do you think, Jess, do you think that support, do you think that's really pivotal, that can make a huge difference to somebody, to a startup, to a founder?
Of course. So, like Sam was saying, her husband kind of was the first person she pitched the idea to. So it's important to have that kind of support, whether it's at home, whether it's through group of friends or friends of friends, you know, even pitching to possible mentors or possible, you know, you have a friend working in a bank. Is this idea bankable? Is it, you know, having a chat with the national funds guys that, you know, dish out grants? It's important, and you're getting not just market validation. So you've been to, like Sam was saying, she's been to prospective clients at home and, you know, testing the product market fit. But as well, if she wants to raise funds, you know, she has to pitch the idea and prepare your elevator pitch, you know.
Yes, we'll definitely get onto funding, because I think you and I both, actually, we met through the Social Hub Entrepreneurs, their community, and you were talking about kind of one of the ladies had been on the Shark Tank show, and we specifically talk about funding, so we will definitely come on to that. But so you've mentioned kind of some of the factors there. What are the crucial factors that you think you actually need to think about, though, before you actually embark on this project? Because I'm really interested to see if you ladies actually thought about it, or because some people just kind of launch in, are just those very like go get. I mean, can just that's so you. Isn't
That's
it?
me. That's me in a nutshell. No business plan.
But if somebody,
I was going to get to the business plan.
but if somebody's listening and thinking, and they've got this idea, and they're like, it could go somewhere, and they're passionate about it, what are the type of things they need to be thinking about to put themselves in the best position to make that a success, not to become one of those sad statistics that we read out at the beginning?
So I would think, from past experiences, what I've been through, it's very difficult for solo founders. So the first key employee is critical for your success rate. So whether it's, you need to find that jack of all trades kind of person if you want to go through it solo. The business plan is key. You have to, especially if you want to pitch to a bank, you want to pitch to Malta Enterprise, you want to pitch to anyone for funding, they want to see what's your vision.
Exactly.
Like black and white, where do you see this going? And whether it's a financially feasible business model. So that is key, because, through a business plan, you see how fast do you intend on growing it. So if you tell me, I want to have this one shop, or I have 2 employees versus 50 employees, that's going to be a much more, interesting business model to a bank or to any possible investor.
Yeah.
So I think those, and then identifying your true USPs. How do you identify yourself with a competitor? That, and knowing how to bring them across through your marketing as well, those USPs, because knowing them is one thing, but communicating them out to your clients or through suppliers is key for me.
Yeah, it's a whole different game. And if you've not done that before, it's actually something I coach people, certainly in the property world in the UK, I coach developers with. They have a project, they have a dream, they are committed to it. I always obviously insist on the spreadsheet. I'm a numbers geek too. But very often they're not sure, or they're not clear themselves what their USP is. So there's certainly like processes you can go through to identify that, and then build your marketing and your communication around that. But there's just so many skills needed, isn't there? You need someone to look at the numbers, you need someone to look at the marketing, you need someone to look at the brand, and it's like, and you do it all yourself. How do you juggle that, Donna?
I don't know. Sometimes I just wake up and I jump out of bed every morning because I'm excited about what I do every single day, because I love what I do. But I do have a schedule of being on the computer for at least 3 hours in the morning. So, I know I've got that. I do have a list of things that are very crucial, and I always prioritize everything. I'm very big on time management, which I've learned over the past many, many years. And that's one of the things that sort of got me to where I am today with what I do. So time management is key for me. And I think it should be for everybody else as well, because without it, you just don't get to do everything that you want to do every day. And I prioritize each different business that I run to make sure that's set for the week, that one's set for the next day, that one's set for tomorrow, that one's set. So, it's just about prioritizing and making sure that everything is done and everything's put in a little bundle box. So it's like, okay, I can rest now. Like even here that's right. Even while I'm sitting here, I'm like, tomorrow I've got this event. I'm thinking, no, wait till I get out of here and then think about it. So, there's always something that I just put it aside and go, tomorrow's the time to think about it. And when it's done, pack it away, So
you compartmentalize it.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest things in running small little businesses that I do. And I actually put aside phone time as well. Like if it's for the alteration studio, I don't take any messages on the days that are Mondays and Wednesdays because we're closed that day. So I leave that for those days that we're open. And then for the female community, I am on that every day because that's something that is run all day, every day. You know, I speak into amazing women all day, every day, organising things all day, every day. But, you know, putting them into little structure boxes so that everything's done. Even the voluntary organisation, like I spend so many different days going along to different seminars, different meetup events, so because, you know, got to keep learning every day. So my days are jam-packed all day, every day, but I love it. I can't complain.
You can just hear the passion in your voice.
Thank you.
And how do you find juggling that, Sam? That there's just so many things to do, so many moving pieces, isn't there?
I don't know. I mean, it's really hard sometimes because apart from my business, I'm a mom of a toddler. So that takes up a lot of time. And as many of you can tell, when you have a startup, you have to invest so much time into it for it to be fruitful in the least time possible, so you can kind of start generating funds from it, not just for you, because most probably for the first couple of years you'll be reinvesting anything that you earn. But I also have to manage a house and keep up with my son and whatever he needs to, like school, like carnival costumes, you know, and then there's dinner and food you have to think of and the shopping, you know, it's a lot. I do have a lot of support from my husband. He really helps, especially from the business side, because he's more of the numbers and I'm more of the marketing and client facing. I think we're a very good team, but obviously he has full-time job as well. So there's a lot of juggling to go on, but I take care of I run the ship at home and at the shop.
Yeah.
You know, so I have, during my day while I'm serving clients, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to take the chicken out. You know, it's a lot. It does get very overwhelming at times. And I do slip in areas because, as you said, you have to be good in marketing, you have to be good in numbers, you have to keep up with your accountant, you have to keep up with clients, check the stock, price, you know, keep the windows clean the shop. There's a lot. And sometimes, I mean, some things have to give. You have to choose. And because of my son, I do not put in enough time as much as I want to. But then again, on the other hand, should it have not been for him, I would not have stumbled on this gap in the market. So I have it a little bit from both ends. I do it with a lot of passion. I commute a lot during the day because of my son, because I try to go pick him up from school myself, not to have mom guilt, you know, take over. So I do a lot of commuting and I live quite far away from the shop. Mm-hmm. But even though it's very tiring, I still go back and I say, I'm here, it's mine, it's my little baby, and I do it. I do everything that I want in it, you know, because I know exactly what I want from it.
Yeah, it's your baby in a different form, isn't it?
It is my second baby.
Dan, let me go back to you. What do you wish you'd known at the beginning that you know now?
You know what, to be honest, Helen, I really wish we had social media back in my day because I struggled so much to build my businesses just from word of mouth. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have computers. Oh, it's really showing my age now. But, you know, it's just one of those things where I now wish that I had all of those at my fingertips because my businesses would be so much more different now. I think, if anything, that I have learnt, and I'd probably say with the last business that I've just opened, is the time management factor. And I wish I had put that into a lot more strategic moves in the other businesses that I had. But that's only because I have employees now. So it's that time factor and management where I have to be so crucial on it, whereas to run that type of a business that I'm running for the studio. So whereas before everything was always on my own, or I had a subcontractor, whereas now having employees, it's so much harder. But at the same time, I think that's probably the only thing. And every business that I open, I have new experiences. Yeah. Definitely new experiences. And I think when you do get into the nitty-gritty of everything and you learn, you just take it to the next step and take it to the next one and go, oh, you know what? I'm not going to apply that to this one this time. I'm going to do it this way this time. So for me, it's just like an ongoing process and learning, especially when you move to a new country. Like this little microphone here likes me, I think. moving to a new country is always so different too. So moving to Malta was a different how we run things back home in Australia, same as in Singapore. Like I lived in Singapore as well, so that was different there. So learning new things all the time, and now I've actually decided just to stay in the one spot for a while so I don't have to keep restarting a new business to go with the entity of the country. So 7 years now, so I think I'm doing okay. So it's just learning. And the other thing is as well, meeting all these other amazing women who are also learning. And when I see new women wanting to start their own business, whether they're a mom or not a mom or, you know, wherever they are in their life, I think it's the most amazing, most empowering thing for a woman to have their own self-independence. And that is probably one of the things that I love about having my own businesses, because it's my own self-independence. I do what I like. I know I'm looking after myself. And another thing that happened as well in my series of businesses, I was a single mom for 10 years with 2 children. So it can be done. And I was by myself for 10 years looking after 2 kids and running different businesses to keep the roof over our head, food on the table, paying the school fees, blah, 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 blah. So that independence for me was probably one of the most greatest achievements that I could possibly say owning my own business too.
And certainly, like all of us at this table have gained so much from those networks and female networks, and understanding people in the same position, either a little bit ahead of you or a little bit behind you on that journey. Do you think network is important, is critical for?
It is vital. Like even having, knowing that contact, as soon as you have an obstacle, whether it's how do I figure out payroll? How do I draft an employment contract? How do I get a distribution agreement if you're importing stock? Having that network, and you know that if you're going to give them a call, you're not going to end up with a bill. For that quick bouncing off issues. Your network, for me, is vital.
Yeah. And it's the experience of the other people that can tell you exactly what happens. Because sometimes when you go to ask for help in a certain industry that you do go for, they haven't actually experienced it. So they can't really tell you the logistics of how it happens or what to do. And that's what I find a lot of when you speak to other women. It's like, oh, really? Did that happen? Okay, well, I'll try it my way, with networking.
And the
meeting.
same issues are sector agnostic. Whether you have to just think, is anyone else in distribution?
That's right.
Model. Anyone else doing franchising? Your problems that you're trying, the obstacles, you're facing them all the same. Even if you have, a pizza restaurant versus a hair salon that you're franchising, it's still the same concept.
Yeah, exactly. They can be applied across different sectors. Yeah. And also learning from other people's experience and mistakes. What are some of the critical mistakes or the obvious mistakes maybe that people have made, or traps people have fallen into?
So, founders agreement. Okay. So when you have, that 3 founders, for someone wants out, how do you split? Someone wants a raise, or someone is getting married, so they want a dividend to make personal investments, but the others don't. It's important, day one, have a founders agreement, a shareholders agreement, and it's every time adjusted. Whenever a new investor comes in, a new shareholder or a key employee triggers those share options, have that founders agreement. So there is black on white, what happens if this goes through or this happens. I think that is the crucial, because you're putting your late hours into it. And if shit hits the fan, you want to be protected. You want to know, if we have this fight and the business goes bust, what am I entitled to?
Yeah. Yeah, you need that clarity and managing those expectations up front. I wrote an article for Property Investor News once, and it was about suggesting that certainly in property and property development projects that we have like a prenup.
Exactly.
It's like there is the shareholder agreement in that instance, but I'm like, can we broaden this? No, actually, I went down this rabbit hole of looking into let's just name a celebrity couple, let's call them, into their prenup and what they'd arranged. I'm like, actually, there was absolute golden nuggets in there. I'm like, let's bring those in and like get it all clear. It's all crystal clear, so there's no room for ambiguity later on. So that's great advice.
And then for female entrepreneurs as well, with the husbands and things, if you have a family business, make sure, actually half of the shares are in your name, not in your partner's. And even locally we have this weird spousal, responsible spouse in our tax returns. So that is another thing that you might want to look into as well.
Absolutely, that can make a real difference. By the time they become important in your life from other events or what have you, they are really, really should have been looked at up front. I've heard that story a lot here. Have you dropped any clangers, Dana? Have you made any huge mistakes that you'll admit to?
Do you know what? I haven't really made any big, huge mistakes because when I start a business, I always make sure that I've got the clientele first before I delve into it.
Right.
So I have never really forked out a lot of money to start my businesses. I've always just made sure that the clientele it's like a niche market that people are asking for, and then I'll delve into it. And then building that community around it and making it grow. But I haven't really done anything. No. One thing I do regret though is selling off one of my businesses in Australia, which I really loved. And I kind of really sometimes regret doing that because it was a passion that I started with 60 Australian dollars, I should say. And it grew into a massive business, it was just a tan hair and makeup business. And it went literally nationally throughout Australia. So every single state in Australia had it. And it was, And now the bodybuilding scene is so big in Australia, literally around the world. And that's probably one of the businesses I wish I never sold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But otherwise, the mistakes just happen. And I don't call them mistakes. It's just learning experience. And I try and do the businesses on my own. I don't have partners. I've never had a partner because funnily enough, my nunnu used to say to me, never go into business with anybody. So I stuck to his word with that and I just haven't. So everything's just an experience for now.
Exactly. And that works for you. And it's certainly something I've seen, perhaps too much, that people are too willing to jump on board and go into JVs with other people that they don't know especially well.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out already, Jess, perhaps not with the right JV or the appropriate agreements. And this is a business marriage. These things are not to be entered into lightly because your finances, your reputation, everything is entangled together. So this is not it's fun, isn't it? Because you can just get carried away with, you've got the dream and the ambition and the enthusiasm and let's just do it. But whoa, sometimes take a breather and
sometimes that enthusiasm needs to be, I've always had an idea and I'll just go, hey, you know what, maybe I'll ask this person if they want to do it with me. And then I sort of, I'm so excited about it and I get into it and then I'll get their faces going, I don't think that's for me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to bother. It's something I really love and I'm passionate about. So that's the thing. You have to find someone that's literally your equal.
Yeah,
to do
bringing the same things to the plate and keeping up pace with you.
Yep, because it's a lot of damn work, as we all know,
Especially that first person that you say. And you found your own niche market. Like Dana said, like if you start with that approach of finding a niche market, so the clientele is already there. There is a market for your product. And that's exactly what you've done, Sam, isn't it?
Yes. I found the niche. And I just ran with it, really. But obviously, I'm quite early on compared to Dana in my business experience. So there were a couple of mistakes, obviously. But so far, I've tried to minimize the cost of the mistakes. So let's say if I had made a mistake, it would have been I've ordered, for example, this particular stock in the wrong season. So it didn't sell out that well fast enough, obviously. And then you learn different things. For example, because obviously we import most of the garments we get in Malta, we get them from European countries, ideally. But all European countries have central heating. So all their garments are lightly cottoned. And then here in Malta, it's like bone cold, humid. And that clothing will not fit our households because people are going to freeze, you can't just wear. So it's a bit of a struggle also to find this particular product that you need to fit in your market. It's not always that like straightforward, simple. I have an idea, I know what I want, but until you find that particular thing, you're gonna hit some bumps along the way, and it's going to be a little bit challenging, and you might make mistakes, as I did with one of my products.
Yeah, that's the beauty of owning your own business, darling.
when you were saying about having a partner in, I did think about having like another female mother, someone else with me. I mean, it's risky in the way that what I feared mostly, if I had to do it with a friend, I'm scared that I'd lose that friendship should things go south.
Yeah.
And I value my friends too much to risk that, because when you're in business with someone, it's you see a side of a person that you're usually not exposed to.
Yeah.
So doing it with my husband, having my husband, if we argue, that's like day to day. So it will be just
normal stuff.
we'll get over it. It's fine. He's here to stay. But a friend would reason differently, maybe they get offended in a way that I wouldn't realize that I'm offending, or vice versa, so it was a little bit scary. Then again, having someone else to like choose the products with, brainstorm. I mean, my husband can help me so much, but he has no idea on which bras go best for which season, there's no girly talk, and even the colors, or it's like just me on my own. But I usually try to get some a poll from my friends, like, listen, what do you think of this or this?
Those early adopters are
Yeah.
great,
Like, that's what I was going to say. Like, maybe you could start doing things where you're inviting women over for a session with a glass of wine and say, hey, ladies, let's have a look at the new collection.
I do that.
So, yeah, and that's how things like, sort of grow with business, when you start bringing people into your business a little bit more
Exactly.
personally, and then they start telling other people about it. Like, you've always got to think outside of the box. If you haven't got a partner, you've got to try and bring people into your business, but on a different wavelength, you know?
True. And I do have a lot of supportive friends, and even from the clients themselves, I get so much good feedback. That's really, I'm so empowered by their encouragement. I mean, these are women that don't know me at all, and I'm like, you're really doing a good job, for example. Like, I'm humbled. It's really nice to get a nice comment from someone other than your friends, because maybe your friends would want the best for you, But having a sort of stranger encourage you, it's like, thank you. That's really touched my heart. Even just complimenting me about the shop or the colors. I mean, I did it all on my own, so it's really nice.
It does look beautiful, I have to say. It really is beautiful. Getting that feedback from, or having somebody to bounce those ideas off, do you really recommend that's something founders or people launching businesses surround themselves with, or get a mentor, or do you think that's something you grow into?
It depends. Depends on the character of the person, because if you have someone that is not really keen on feedback, I've had those type of person,
Me too.
So those are a special case.
Yeah.
But what I would normally recommend, yes, surround yourself with someone that can, even in just sometimes we just have rhetorical questions, that you just want to hear you saying them out loud. And by the end of the sentence, you would already made your decision or you know the answer, how to solve it. So whether it's a mentor, whether it's your first employee, because, you're there during working hours and you're like, how do we solve this? How do we... You've heard a complaint or someone asked for something and you don't have it in stock, for example. Is there a market for this? You want to kind of brainstorm a bit with someone, and that sounding board.
It's important.
I've seen it that it's quite important because when you come like investor meetings and we've done an investment and you're post-transaction and you're doing those monthly meetings to make sure that those milestones are. You don't want to show up with all these queries about your clientele or I'm not sure about this thing or I'm not sure about this process. You want to make sure that you show that you know your stuff.
Yes.
It's your business at the end of the day and you're just reporting to us to make sure that you're hitting those milestones.
And we've started talking about investors there. What for you, when somebody is looking, when is the right time? Let's start with that. When is the right time to think about bringing in external funding, be that from a family member or an angel investor or even kind of looking beyond that? When is the right time for that?
I think there's two aspects of it. So definitely find your product market fit. So I believe that prototype stage, for example, or just a concept or an idea where you haven't tested out on a client, or if you did test out, make sure you have their feedback in writing so you can show it to whoever you're pitching.
Yeah, evidence
that you've done that work. And then as well, don't leave it to the last second, the negotiations, deals, even grant applications, if you're going down that route, do take months, So if you think that you want to launch a new product or a new range, or you're doing physical and you want to invest in an e-commerce website and you want that sort of funding, give it some time, 6 months ahead, start thinking about it. Because you don't want to end up, if it's swimwear, for example, and you want to launch in springtime, in autumn, I would apply for that funding so that you have ample time and you're not rushed, whether with grants, for example, you can't use your own money and then replace it with the grant. You have to have pre-approval before you buy anything or commit to something. So I would think ahead.
Wow, so it needs a lot of planning.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we hold ourselves back. I know you have advised and worked with lots of founders who've looked at those options with funding and grants and stuff. Sometimes can be a little bit hesitant in putting ourselves forward for those things, can't we?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think sometimes when people look at building a business or launching a business and they want to go for funding, they're a little bit scared about being rejected, number one.
Right.
And also it's the time factor. And I also find, as you were saying, Jess, like even myself, I actually applied for a grant to get the sewing machines for my studio. Only because there was no one manufacturing here in Malta, and I needed someone to make my swimwear for me because I just could not keep sending them abroad. So I had gone for funding. At first, it was a bit daunting for me because I had to do the whole business plan and, get everything sorted. But it took forever and ever and ever to hear back about the funding, which then I just sort of put it aside and went, I can't be bothered doing this anymore.
Or for plan B, plan C.
Exactly. And you know what I did? I started something else because I couldn't wait any longer. But then when I had received the funding, I had put my action into plan then and moved forward with it. But then COVID came. So it was a really bad situation for me at that time. And I had actually lost the grant because it was over that
I'm barred.
period, I couldn't then use the grant. So then over that time, things had changed and I ended up opening up the studio anyway. But I hear a lot of women saying that they don't want to go forward with their business because of the rejection side of it.
And I think going back to the initial stats that Helen mentioned about, lower rates in women funding in women business, it's because we want the perfect business plan.
Yes.
Yes. Every tiny detail has to be perfect. Like I go through pitch decks every week. And some of them, coming from males are like just a business concept, an idea, and they still go ahead and pitch. Whereas we want to have the plan A, plan B, plan C, and then I go and pitch.
Yes.
Well, then it has to look nice because it has to be aesthetically pleasing generally. And then we want the numbers have to be right. And that it's so here.
So I think that is an impact on the success rates on getting the funding. But then it's great once the funding happens because the businesses run by women are actually more successful because we know every process of how this A gets to B to C.
Yeah.
Because we've
It's
thought
just
about
us, I guess.
It is.
It's our
But
agenda.
the other thing that I find very, not unusual, but I see it all the time. Women have, and I'm just talking about women because I deal with a lot of female entrepreneurs all day, every day. And they have the brilliant idea, but they don't want to step the next foot forward because they haven't got, number one, the support, or number two, they're scared they're going to fail. And they think that they have to have like $1 million to set up, where really it's like taking that first step forward to making it work, getting the presence known, getting yourself
You don't
out
need to
there.
know all the steps ahead, but just know the next one.
Exactly.
And then
you
trust
learn. That's
yourself.
it, and keep going. Because I always say the business that you're thinking of, there's like 70 other million people thinking of the same thing. So if you bring it out first, even if it's just a concrete stamp, then it's like, okay, I've actually brought it forward. So I can now move forward with this. This is my brand, my business, my little company or whatever you're going to open. And then it's like a step forward. Even though you may not start it within 8 months, 10 months, 9 months, it's just like these little stepping stones to say, I've launched it. And you don't have to have this big launch. It's just like putting the logo together, getting the name, putting it on socials, putting it on your Instagram, putting it on your Facebook, and then the rest comes.
And
that's
all
where
this,
that's where you are, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
It's taking those
Yes,
next steps. Has perfectionism held you back?
No, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
So there is an element of perfectionism because and as time goes by, I know more of what I want, and I want it that way, and I don't want to settle for anything less. So because I don't want to settle, sometimes it takes me a little bit longer because I either don't afford it, and I have to wait. I'd rather wait.
Yeah.
Than do something shabby. You know what I mean?
Isn't that perfectionism though?
Yes. But because of that perfectionism, then I have a good end result. It's where I want it. It's the level, the standard that I want it to be in. Yeah. Because if it's not, then I lose my brand image, because the brand, it revolves around everything else. It's not just the product. It's even the pricing or the look or the way you sell it. I mean, I do invest a lot of time in knowledging myself about everything. I like to even, for example, when it comes to the bras, I like to know about the fabric and why is it that stitch in that position in that way. Because when I'm explaining to my clients why I'm educating, I am sharing my knowledge, and they believe. I mean, it is what it is, and they're believing me more because I'm more knowledge about it. I know what I'm selling.
Yeah,
I'm going and they appreciate it, and me knowing these things and being able to share them gives me so much pleasure in sharing them with other women.
Yeah,
because these are things that not even I knew before. It's only because I've delved into them that I know them, but I've never been told of them, which I should have by my female relatives, for example, but not even they knew about them because there was no education about it. And
It very much backs up what you said, Jess, about just knowing all that detail and having
Exactly.
it all in place. And
It does.
we're
I
hearing a
mean,
real life example
yes,
here.
yes, it does help. No, I mean, a good salesperson, because we're not just business owners, we're also salesperson of our own product, no, has to really know what they're selling. And for you to really know what they're selling, you have to study. So being it a structured academic thing or you knowledging yourself, self-taught, it's the same thing as long as you know what you're doing, you know?
And I think going to back to what Sam was saying about being the salesperson of you're not just the salesperson of the product, but even of your business. And you need to know how to adapt your pitch to whoever you're pitching to.
When I'm fitting someone, I'm pitching myself, I'm pitching my business to that customer. Because if she doesn't believe that I have a good product and I have knowledge enough for her to trust me with my guidance, I would either leave and I lose a sale, or she wouldn't recommend, she wouldn't come back, you know. So it's it builds up.
That conversation then, I believe it would have been different with your landlord or with the supplier that you're going into a distribution agreement with.
Yes.
It would have been, they need to believe into your vision as well.
Exactly. But for example, when I was setting up the shop and I had to pitch to the bank about what I want for the shop, I even knew, all right, I didn't go for it because the door was there. But I already knew what kind of door I had envisioned and that I didn't want any steps, too many steps, like one, and it had to be ground level as much as possible because I cater for maternity bras. So my market people are going to be moms with pushers, so it has to be easy accessible, and I am a pusher user, so I know how difficult some shops are to access. Because I have wider backs, I can have, for example, wheelchair users. So I made sure that my changing rooms are wide enough for me to fit in with a woman in a wheelchair and myself, for me, both of us, to be able to move around comfortably. Even if a mother has a pusher with her, she can drag it in with her. And we're all three comfortably. Thankfully, I'm very small. So I fit in really tight places. But still, you know, I put in a lot of thought in why I wanted that way, you know?
Yeah, so much. You can hear exactly the attention to detail is
Exactly.
spectacular.
But
I would have
this-
liked to have seen your pitch to the bank. 'Cause that was a corker.
But these little attention to details make it a little bit easier for you to sell your brand to the bank or to an investor or to anyone else, really. I mean, I had to do all this with my husband because he's my main investor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really takes a lot to convince him, huh?
Actually, that
But
leads...
did you, sorry, Helen, did you want to have all these answers before your first pitch? Like, did you have to have everything dotted in?
I had a lot of thought put in it. I do a lot of research, a lot, while I'm putting my son to sleep, mostly, because obviously during the day I'm busy doing other things. But yes, I had most
Before
of it.
you had the confidence to
Yes, of
go
course.
ahead and
I like to have myself planned out, as you said. And when I was pitching myself to my husband with the shop decor, he was like, "This is really nice." And like, I know. This is what I want, and this is what I will have.
Yes, that's my word.
It's all pink and gold.
I love that. But it leads us really nicely on to where I want to go to. I know you get a lot of questions on this, Jess, and I get a lot of questions, particularly from the kind of the property and the real estate, actually the angel investing side as well. What makes a good pitch?
I think rather than the actual elevator pitch, you know, that 3 minutes pitch, I think the Q&A, where they're trying to get to you and try to find, you know, the one question that you don't have the answer to, I think that is where you shine most.
Yeah.
Because you're winging it. And that's where, like, I test whether you'll be able to pivot. If something happens, are you able to
Flexible.
pivot?
Yes.
Are you strong enough character-wise to pivot? You know, COVID came around. Did you manage to pivot? Of course you did.
Yeah.
Because
You have to.
exactly, there's no option. But some people are adamant. No,
Yes,
this
I know.
is the business plan.
And that's
This
it.
is what I've promised. But then on the opposite side, if we've agreed to milestones, don't come month after month and you're not hitting them.
Yeah.
So I want to see determination, the passion and the commitment to the project. But also I want to understand the character.
Yeah.
We're going to have tough conversations and I want to see how you're going to handle. Do you accept feedback? Do you at least, if I propose something, do you actually go and have some research about it and consider it? Not saying implement it, it's your business, but have you considered my suggestions?
And that flexibility, as you say, to respond to the environment or to the feedback from clients or to be able to pivot. I was actually out for dinner the other night with a serial entrepreneur who has been invested in and exited a number of seriously large businesses. And we talked about dealing with founders and how you do start out on this one path and then you pivot and then there's a pivot and then there's a pivot. And I'm like, you thought you were going here and actually you end up here. And I think you as an investor, which is a different show, but you as an investor have to have that flexibility of, okay, I bought into this vision, but it's just kind of steadily transitioned over here. But it comes back to the point you made at the beginning, which is that you're very often buying into the person and you believe in them and all those things that you said about kind of flexibility.
You will pivot. Angel investing, you're buying into the pivoting. But at least if that communication, and as a founder, you're seeing that the trajectory is not working, open communication with your investor, even with the bank, and grants and the soft loans that they still want the implementation product reports and things, being open about the obstacles. They're not going to say, I'm stopping your loan. If you have a court case, for example, maybe yes. But on things, I haven't hit my 100K revenue. I've only done 20, but in the meantime, I've had all these supply chain issues. I don't know. Keep it open.
Yeah.
At least
explain it.
Explain yourself.
Have you found yourselves having to pivot? We've talked about it a lot, but maintain that flexibility. And there was something you really wanted to achieve. You really had your sights in this. And then I think entrepreneurship, half of it, as we've talked about, is overcoming those obstacles. Yeah. But what have those obstacles been that you're just like, actually, this obstacle's too big, it's too detrimental, so it's too much effort to try and get over this. And actually, we'll just, shift it a little bit and go around that way.
I think you've always got to pivot being an entrepreneur. You may have a business plan, everything may go according to plan, but then there's going to be something that just blocks. And it can happen just like that. From, a product that you're bringing out, for example, doesn't sell very well. So how are you going to get rid of this product? An event that may just go wrong and you pivot it in some way where it makes it out to be a really good event. Like you've always got to pivot. You have, my head is always on a swivel trying to work out the best way to do things because you are the person that does everything from photographer to social media to talking to people, getting clients, introducing people to others so that your business works with the other person. Like you are constantly pivoting in every single way, even clientele. I've had to do so many different things where I like to be on the straight and narrow when I'm doing things so I can concentrate in doing it. But nope, it never happens. It's always like, boop, something comes in the way and I have to pivot the other way to make it work. Otherwise, if I don't, I'm either going to lose money or I've lost time or it's something then it sort of goes to the back burner and then once again it's like you have to pivot again. So there's always something that you need to pivot on when you're being an entrepreneur. And because you're doing it on your own, because a lot of people have sole trader businesses, so you have to pivot to make it work. And you've got to bring the money in no matter what way you can to be able to make it work. So that's why when I think being an entrepreneur, you have to think outside the box. And I'll keep saying that because you have to do things that no one else has done so that you can do it to be the first to be known for and then move to the next pivot. Yeah. So there's... It's a job inside a job inside a job, it's forever.
And that's something you've done really well, creating your own little niche and kind of being the first to be known for not just kind of one aspect, but lots of different kind of niche products in your sector.
Yes. I I did have to pivot because originally I had started off with maternity and nursing, and I was very passionate I still am, about maternity and nursing bras and other products that I cross-sell, which makes sense with the bras and the breastfeeding. But when I started with the maternity and breastfeeding bras, I started to get quite a good number of messages and requests for fuller bust, regular. And when we sat down to think about it, our market is relatively small compared to other countries. We're about 500,000 in population, and that includes women, men, children, and old people who are in homes or wherever. So if you cut the breastfeeding or pregnant women out, that's an even much smaller number. So the market is even narrowed further down. Branching out to the regular market for fuller busted made more sense because I could widen the funnel, and bring in more clients, which might come for the breastfeeding bras, but once they stop their journey, they come on to the regular bras, because they've been tried and tested with the bras. And again, I handpick the products. I don't just get anything, so they know that there's research behind everything I do.
And from everything that you've said, like you've built up that trust with them. You care.
I mean, there are so many other underwear shops, but everyone does it in his own way.
Yeah.
And what I bring to the table, perhaps you won't be able to do it because we all do it so differently.
And that again goes back to something that you mentioned, Jess, which is that USP. Like you have a clear USP. It's such a personal thing for you.
Exactly.
And you have these niches, but everything's handpicked. Even when you talk, like I got like a little flutter of excitement. You're like, I know why that stitch is in that place. I'm like, you are talking my language, girl. I am a detail person. Oh my God. It's just...
Yeah, and what Sam is doing now is retaining those clients that she's worked hard on, and the market acquisition cost is paying off, because then I'm already imagining that mom having the teenage daughter going back in for the first bra, and keep on retaining that client.
That is a new niche that I have invested in, no pun intended. Teens. Because I wanted to do something like with a Start Them Young, because as I said, my grandmother or my mother did not know the things that I have learned now. So I want to hopefully start a generation of a Start Them Young in anything really, but in the bra sector, which is my thing, in teaching them on how to buy a bra, what to look out for when you're buying a bra. It's not just adults. It's like when you start them very young, especially, and we have so many women with fuller busts, natural fuller busts.
Yeah.
There's statistics of it. I don't know the exact numbers, of course, but in recent years, the female breasts have been growing naturally, quite widespread,
We've talked about the ways we can help ourselves, like network, considering timing and definitely time management. What other resources are out there for somebody beginning to think about either they're beginning to think about getting on this journey or they're kind of where Sam is? What sort of help is out there and what do you suggest people look for?
Well, attending community events, so just get in, and even if you just have a business concept, no one's going to steal it, You're still going to add to your flavor on the business concept. They've been there, done that. The business idea might have failed for someone else. Still go through with it, but do reach out to the community, whether it's the female community that Dana's doing.
Yeah.
I also am involved with the Malta startup space. Right. We do create events. There's a social entrepreneurs one. Malta Enterprise creates, startup festival coming up. There's startup summit in May. I think it's the week before or after the She Word one.
Yeah, that's right.
So do get involved in the community, and everyone is very welcoming. So you don't need a friend to show up,
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point too, because I think one of the most important things about having and being in a community, and not just talking about the female community, it's so important that women have a platform to be able to feel confident and feel welcomed.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than that. And I see this has grown over the past maybe even 8 months, holding the female events that we've done so far, especially with our Fem Talks, where women have walked in and just gone, wow, I've actually feel so comfortable in here. I made a friend.
I mean,
I've
usually
learned.
And
the
it's
business.
the same mindset.
Sorry.
It's the same mindset, you know. You
That's
can
it.
have
like-minded women.
Usually, this business sector is a dog-eat-dog world.
Yes.
But when you are at the femme community, such as Dana's, for example, I've been there and I'm one of the members. You feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna like talk to someone about the struggles you're going through, they're gonna relate. And listen, why don't you try this? And how about, have you tried it? You know, you just pitch in ideas. They're like free advice from genuine points of view and different walks of life.
Connecting you with other people, certainly. So in the UK, I was one of the co-founders of the Property Sisters community, and we did it for exactly that reason. There was 4 of us that would go out. It actually started as a social birthday thing. We would rock up and have a nice little jolly with a little glass of wine for our birthdays, because 3 of us had birthdays in January. And one year we were like, you know what, should we invite some more women along? Because we'd go to these property events, there'd be 60 guys in the room, there'd be 2 women that just go and speak to each other because you just want that, you know, that familiarity, don't you? And it's like, we need to create a space such that we can have those conversations. We can say, have you experienced this? Or who did you use for that? Or even put your hand up and ask a stupid question that many of the women in our community won't do, for whatever reason, in front of men.
Yeah. And that's why being in a community that you can depend on and trust, there's nothing better than, like, even after an event where you go, oh my gosh, I felt so inspired after that. I felt so empowered after, and I get messages and messages and messages. That's why I can't wait for the actual She Live, because it's going to be a different dynamic altogether. I mean, we only have a small amount of women that come to our events because we keep it very tight knit, you know, so we don't have, so everyone can get to know each other. But I can imagine this is going to be even like triple, quadruple, whatever the amount. So
that's it. This is 4 of us having these conversations. Imagine this, like, 100x or even bigger than that. Like, the power of those conversations in person is you just can't get it. You can't repeat it anywhere. You know, maybe we connected a little bit more in different ways during lockdown on Zoom, and that got us all chatting a bit more, but it's not the same.
It's not the same. I actually love, and I'm a very big hugger. It's just me. I love hugging everyone when they come into the female community event. I give everyone a hug, and they're like, oh, it's so nice to give a hug to someone, because it's that connection. And then when you know,
beings,
that's right. And when you have like-minded women that are all on the same wavelength, you just can't beat it. It's just like being in a room with your, bestest friends, and you're all just having a great time, and we can all just be. And when the women that come let down their hair, and they tell stories that I would never thought people would actually say in a room with strangers. So that's how safe they feel, because they know it's just amongst women that will. Because we all support each other. We all empower each other and inspire each other. And it's a big thing.
It's a judgment-free zone.
Exactly.
And
for sure. You have to. Because we all have different stories.
Exactly.
And when they tell those stories, it resonates. Somebody in that room will have been through something, if not exactly the same, something similar. Or it will resonate on some level.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it builds such a safe feeling. And it gives a real sense of, the word that's come into my mind is like collaboration.
Yes.
And I think, I mean, my career history was kind of growing up on a trading floor. Like, let me tell you, ain't no collaboration on a trading floor. competition, dog eat dog, woman eat woman. Like, it was hardcore. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but there was no collaboration. And what I love about particularly the communities here, and actually what we've created in the UK, is that sense of collaboration. I want to succeed and I want to bring everybody else with me.
Exactly.
And we all want, we want to bask in everybody else's success as well.
Yeah.
You know, and showcase. That is definitely what the part of the live is about. It's showing, getting these people visible who are the success stories. You've worked with so many of them. We had the My Mama, the presentation.
So, for example, with Donna,
yes,
through the Malta Startup Space as well, we put up a post. Whoever is going to Web Summit in Portugal, let us know. So we kind of stay in similar hotels. So in the evening, at the conference, we can all be each other and be a pinpoint, you know.
yeah.
It was 70,000 attendees at Web Summit in Lisbon. And we were, 15 people from Malta? But at least, you know, going from stand to stand, going to talks, same WhatsApp group, finding each other, having that community, you don't feel, you know, you're one of the 70,000.
Yeah.
You're meeting someone for lunch, someone for breakfast. We're all going for drinks after. You have that community.
Yeah.
And people, like, it was my second time going, but Donna, it was her first. Anna from Data Analytics, it was her first. But then we had, you know, the serial entrepreneurs that they go is on their annual calendar.
Yeah.
And they could give us some tips and tricks.
Yeah.
I think community is key.
It's big.
I've got like at least 10, 15 property sisters booked flights, accommodation before we'd even started selling the tickets to the live. And I know, actually, I was looking at the chat this morning, they are all kind of arranging those like meetups, and it's going to be another great opportunity to bond. So in wrapping up, what are the key bits of advice, the golden nuggets that we said, like, at the beginning? What have you learned? What can you pass on that you wish you'd either known or you think is a real golden nugget that people on this journey can take away from this episode?
I think if you have a business idea, it doesn't need to be perfect for you to bounce it off someone. An idea could be a great business model, but you have to have the courage to pitch it to someone.
Yeah.
I love that, Jess. That's brilliant. I think that sums it up, because another big key is never give up.
You took that from me.
Really? I'm so sorry, Sam. But honestly, you can't give up on your dream. And no matter how many dreams you have, you just have to keep going, because I'm kind of a standing little ovation here on that. I've never given up on anything I've sort of wanted to pursue on, and I still never will, because I have to tick it off my list. And if I don't tick it off my list, I haven't achieved anything. So never give up.
Love that. Keep going.
Yeah.
Sam, you've got to come up with
I'm going to build on it. I'm going to build on it. So don't give up, because there are going to be hard days. I mean, I'm quite early on, as you know, but there are days which are like really busy, and then there are slow days which are consecutive, and you feel like wanting to pull out your hair, because you start to panic. Is this going to work? Am I going to fail? But you would feel it. If the fire still burns, you have to give it time, because you can't give up in the early stages. You know, you have to keep on pushing. This will pass. I mean, COVID passed.
Yep.
We're living again.
Yeah.
You know, it took us 2.5 years. How long? So you have to give it time, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither any of our businesses have. It takes a lot of time, and life happens in the meantime. So sometimes you have to pivot or take a detour towards where your end goal is. So yes, just stick to it and just be flexible. You have to always have the next plan, but you have to believe in it, because it's hard sometimes to compose yourself to, okay, keep it together and keep going. But that is what I strongly emphasize on. Be patient.
Be patient and be ready to ride that roller coaster.
Yeah,
Resilience,
it goes up and down.
Resilience.
Goes up and down.
Resilience.
I would as well add on, celebrate the small wins. So when
Yes.
those
And pat yourself in the back, because we
Exactly.
do work a lot. We do work
when
hard.
those calm days come, you know, you would have we've just celebrated that last week, or we've celebrated that.
And when the con days are in, you always have something to do. Okay, it's a quiet day, no problem. I have this other admin thing to do that I usually fall back on because I have a lot of clients. So I'm gonna do this. It's fine. It needs to be done. It's really pressing. You know,
Do your
so-
taxes.
I like that, Jess. I celebrate the small ones, and I think we should celebrate a really good episode, ladies. So,
Yeah.
cheers to you.
Many more.
Sam.
So you're too far.